What is good, everyone? Welcome back to Dentists Who Invest podcast with your host, James Martin. Another episode on the theme of side gigs today. Episode number 2 on the theme of side gigs, but episode number 41 overall. So, yeah, how crazy is that? How far we are down the line? 9 months in, would you believe? I was checking today how old the podcast was. 41 episodes in. Here's to the next 41 and the 41 after that. Looking forward to it. So, on the topic of side gigs, I know for a fact that there are lots of dentists out there who are passionate about health and fitness. Health and fitness from the point of view of your mind, your body, your soul, all of those things. And one of the main ways that we can maintain that is through physical activity. I know there's lots of dentists out there who love to, well, it's just about dentistry is stressful, isn't it? And it's keeping on top of our mental health. And one of the best ways to manage that, and one of the most common ways that that is acknowledged to be handled or well managed, is through keeping active and being in the gym. There are Facebook groups out there on the topic of dentists who like to keep active and fit. And I know there's a lot of dentists out there who would love to explore that side of their personality and their well-being even more. And whilst they do, there are even fewer still who have managed to turn it into a side gig or a business. And I'm sure there's plenty out there who would like to know more about that. And hence why we are very privileged to have Chita Davda on today, who is a dentist. But is it fair to say, Chita, that your main hustle these days is the fitness side of what you do? How does that fit in? That's something that we're going to flesh out in just a moment. But first of all, I'd just like to say, Chita, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. And how has your day been? Have you had a good day so far?
Yeah, it's been good. So thanks, James, so much for having me. Day's been good. So I had a short morning of clinic, and then I've got the afternoon to get on with my other bit of work, which is, as you said, is my fitness hustle. So it's I'm going to be looking after my online coaching clients. I'll be checking in on them shortly. But it's been a good day, nice and busy, which is how I like it, essentially, as well. So,
Nice
yeah.
one. Looking forwards to learn more about that fitness side hustle, what it is that inspired you to do it, and how it's going, and what you would say to anybody who's thinking about taking that leap, not just into a fitness side hustle, but maybe just generally their side gig or whatever it is their passion is. Just a little bit about you, first of all, Cheetah. So I understand that you're a dentist. How long have you been qualified? Have you Do you enjoy being a dentist, or did the fitness thing always your main passion? How did that work? How did that fit in?
Yeah, so it says qualified 10 years ago, showing my age clearly right now. And it was a bit weird one. So got into dentistry, and my older sister was a dentist. I'd always used to go and shadow her when I was younger, got a 10-year age gap. And she made it look really easy. You should just be there like doing an endo, watching like Diagnosis Murder at the same time. And I thought, yeah, this looks good. I can do this.
Oh wow! If only if that was it was that easy. Lulled into a false sense of security. For the record, I absolutely hate endo. It's the one thing that I really struggle with. Let me
Yeah.
make dentures all day. That's all I want to do. I love
Oh,
making
really?
dentures.
Oh,
Yeah,
don't. No.
yeah. Everyone says that makes me really weird because most people hate dentures, but I
Yeah.
love them. I just don't know why. I just seem to get them. Anyway.
Okay. Maybe because you get them. I just remember days of like drilling acrylic away, just being covered in like some acrylic
Yeah. Yeah, that part is not so fun, but the other part's good. Making someone smile when they don't have teeth, that is honestly that is the main reason why, well, one of the main reasons why I love dentistry. But anyway, enough about me,
Yeah.
more about you.
So I guess I kind of got drawn into it, thinking it was, nice, get people out of pain and things like that. I'll be honest, I was the most unfit person at university. Like, when you have those sports days, I would not be the one like ever taking part. And I think once they asked me to jog, and I was like, I didn't even own a tracksuit or like trainers. So it really wasn't like my thing. And then I guess in my FD year, so I lived out for a bit, and I just thought, oh, maybe I should join a gym. It's something to do in the evenings, and got quite into it and just used to really enjoy working out, like the feeling after a workout. You just feel like a sense of achievement. You feel actually more energized. And I actually got into it just by chance. I literally just joining a gym and enjoying it. And then I'd be really intrigued by like seeing how you can change and sculpt the body by like lifting weights, and got a personal trainer. And then I lost a lot of weight, so I used to be a lot bigger, and I just felt like it changed me as a person. Like my confidence skyrocketed, and I also got better at dentistry. I don't know if it's because my hands were smaller, so I could do things that were better, but I don't know, like everything kind of just changed. And then I thought, actually, I think this is my thing, and I can help people as well. Because I love helping people, which is obviously why I got into dentistry. And yeah, then just got into fitness and enjoyed it essentially. So bit of a weird one. If you ever ask anyone from Uni of Liverpool, I was like the chubby kid in the corner eating pizza all the time. Or
Oh,
don't.
I'm sure they'd never say that. I'm sure it wasn't that bad. But we'll take your
It
word
was,
for it. We'll take your word for it. You know what? You know the
yeah.
thing about side hustles and side gigs, there's almost always a really powerful brand story behind it. And
Yeah.
that's what it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy that the success of the side gig comes from someone's passion, and that
Yeah.
passion comes from a powerful experience that they've been through. So it sounds like that was your brand story, I suppose, or that was
Yeah.
the event that ignited your passion and was able to propel you forwards in that industry. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I absolutely love what I do. Like anyone who worked with me knows it. Because I just think what the joy and fulfillment I get from exercise or eating well, I want everyone to like experience that. And I find it's quite life changing. So you can see my passion when I talk about this versus if I talk about a filling. It's very different. So
I
it's
can. I'm actually feeling your passion oozing out of the screen right now, and I'm absolutely loving it. Question: Dentistry. Were you ever as passionate about dentistry, or was it just something to pay the bills?
I guess something to pay the bills, but I think I used to let it really stress me out. I think I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to teeth. So it sounds a bit sad, but if I tried to carve an amalgam and it didn't look right, or my composite, the line angle or something, if it wasn't spot on, I could literally go home and not sleep. Or if a patient just got a little bit annoyed, I would just be like, oh, I tried my best and let it get to me. And I was like, there's more to life than a tooth, I think. So,
Yeah. Well, that is honestly, I actually think perfection is the enemy of the good so much in dentistry. And so many dentists, their hearts are in the right place, almost to their own detriment. And I've
yeah.
been I've been a victim of that as well. So I feel your pain. I feel your pain on that one. So
Yeah.
dentistry, you started out, you became a fitness. I don't even know if you were at the level of being a fitness fanatic in university. Maybe you had a mild casual interest in it. You came
Yeah.
out the other end of university. You were a dentist for a little while, and then what happened? What happened since then? Because I know that now dentistry is taking a back seat. Fitness is in the driving seat. Fitness is at the forefront. How did that evolution happen?
So I guess like when I was on clinic, I'd always want to like rush to get to the gym or to work out. And even my nurse would be like, if like a patient was going to be like 10 minutes late, and I'm like, no, I've got to get to the gym. Like, it was a bit weird at that point. It was just because I used to enjoy it. But it's only actually 2 years ago I thought, let me take the plunge and see what happens. So I did a personal training course, like level 2, level 3. And it was still actually while I was doing 4 days of dentistry. So it was really hard to do the two things. I'll be honest, it's a straightforward course, but it still took me a few months to do it. Just because when you're going into clinic and you're doing all of that side, it's really hard to come back home and revise and learn the anatomy of the heart again and things like that. So 2 years ago, kind of took the plunge. I actually started working in a gym, so I had to like clean
Oh,
treadmills like for free, and it was weird. Surrounded by 18-year-olds when I'm like 32, and my drive was completely different. So it really tested me, because obviously you go from earning quite a lot as a dentist to cleaning treadmills as part of your like gym contract. And then like when COVID happened, so obviously there was a massive lockdown, it really actually gave me the opportunity to like build my business and to put time into what I always wanted to do, but never really put the time to do. And then I got to focus on that, like really get into it. And then that's where it essentially flourished. And now, this is what I do most of the time, essentially. So, hopefully that makes sense.
it does. Very organic. When you
Yeah.
when you started working in that gym, what was your level of enthusiasm for dentistry? at around about that time, were you a little bit disillusioned with it, or did you just think to yourself, I'm going to be happier if I go down the fitness route? I'm willing to compromise on pay. I'm willing to spend that little bit of extra time at the gym. What
Yeah.
were what made you do that? What was the main factor in your decision?
Well, I think I'll be honest. I got married around 4 years ago. Then I ended up changing the practice I was working in, and it wasn't the practice I think I saw myself in. It was, really high DNA rate. It was a lot of patients were like really demanding, and I think I was like, do you know what? This isn't really for me. I'd love to do the dentistry I really wanted to do, but I just couldn't do it at that place. So I think I just felt a bit done with it, I'll be honest. And it was just because I was in the wrong place for what I wanted to do clinically. So I think it shows how done I was if I was willing to be up working in a gym like 8 till 11 at night, closing the gym, going the next day in the morning at 6:30 in the morning to open the gym, and things like that. And I think I was really like, okay, if I can make this work, then it's awesome. It may not work, but I've got something to fall back on. But also financially, I'll be honest, it was a bit of a worry because you've gone from making quite a lot of money to really not making much money. And it's like, oh my God, what have I done? Like, is this worth it? Have I made the right decision? But yeah, you just have to follow through with it. And if it's something you really enjoy, you make it work. And now I can safely say, I don't know if it's fine to say, but I actually make more than I did as an associate doing what I do because I love it so much, kind of thing. So yeah, it was a worry kind of thing to do.
Well, do you know what? I hope that for anybody who's listening to this, that what Cheetah's just said might resonate with you, because my mindset, maybe not even that long ago, maybe even a couple years ago, was that as far as dentistry is concerned, I just have to, I can't even, I didn't really get that it's an option to reduce your hours of dentistry and just try other things and do something
Yeah,
else. I just thought for me, it's very binary, you're in or you're out. But money only
yeah,
matters to a point. Money only matters to the point where you have a roof over your head, you're able to pay your bills, etc., etc. And
yeah,
to let money be the shared deciding factor on what you do with your time was, I'm not saying I'm right or I'm wrong because I did what I did, but all I'm saying is now that I look back and I just think, James, you're crazy because you could have done so many more things with your time,
yeah,
particularly when, well, I did like dentistry, but there's more to life than just teeth, and
yeah,
that was me, that was what I did. And
yeah,
it sounds like maybe you realized that before me, because you
yeah,
thought to yourself, actually, do you know, I'm really interested in fitness, I'm really in, this is perhaps my main passion. Why
yeah,
don't I, instead of just fully just severing the umbilical cord and going a bit mad, why
yeah,
don't I just reduce one, try out the other, and see what happens? And look what happened
yeah,
for you. And you've even just said that financially, as it
yeah,
happens, it was worthwhile, which is
yeah.
something that maybe not necessarily people would think from the very beginning.
Yeah. But don't you find, James, as well? Like, I know I used to kind of be guilty of it, is I easily complain about something, but then I didn't necessarily change it, if that makes sense. So I would happily, for years on end, be like, oh, I've got to go into work tomorrow. Oh, I've got this really awful, like a really hard case to do or something. And I think my family and my poor husband were probably thinking, we hear this week, every week it's the same. And I think someone was like, either you're going to keep complaining or do something to change it. And I was like, I can't change it. I'm a dentist. Like, what, yeah, I'm doing what my job is. Like, what else can I do? And I think I probably heard myself complain so much. I probably wasn't pleasant to be around. I thought, actually, it is in my control. I can change this essentially. So I think it takes a while though to get that switch. I don't know if you would agree that it wasn't like overnight you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna do this. It takes that while for enough people to say it to be like, why don't you try something else? Or I don't know.
No, totally preach. And it seems so obvious in hindsight. I don't know what I was thinking. And I hope that that resonates with somebody out there in some way. The thing is, I think the biggest misconception is you're either in or you're out. It doesn't have to be that way at all. And even if it's reducing something down to 4 days and trying something else out for that fifth day, that's
Yeah,
totally a lifestyle that you can have. And if money is something that money, it only matters to a point. Money really only matters to the point that you've got enough to get by, and after that, happiness is the biggest thing. And for me to have a shot at being something, doing something that you're truly happy and passionate about, whether that be whether you want to totally leave dentistry or even do less dentistry, surely that's worth a shot. And that was, I wish, honestly, I really wish someone would have had that conversation with me sooner. I really do.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I say, you worked that one out all by yourself, Cheetah. Which so you were. It took a lot. It took me a lot more time and a lot more people to confront me, or a lot more, books and information, resources of information before that actually got through to me. But yeah, I hope
Yeah.
that that little bit of wisdom helps somebody who's listening to this podcast in some way. Because after all, this is Side Gigs Month. This is the whole point.
Yeah.
This is about
Yeah.
discovering your passion, finding what that passion is, getting even more passionate about it, maybe spending more
Yeah.
time doing it, and maybe if the stars align and the magic happens, even make it into
Yeah.
your own side hustle. That's what we're here for. And that's why I
Yeah.
created this month as well, because like I say, I really, really, really wish that there was somebody out there that told me these things a long time ago. And yeah, I hope that helps in some way. So Cheetah, ever since you set your business up, it seems like it's went from strength to strength. So you did this. What did that first leap of faith look like for you? Was that creating a piece of content, a video? Was that putting a website out there and saying, "Hey guys, this is what I do now. Join up"? How did that look for you?
So it actually started as pretty basic. I just started actually making leaflets, which I would not do nowadays. So I went on Vistaprint, got like some photos made of like me training, pretending to train someone, and I actually went leaflet shopping to like people's houses. And you know what the crazy thing was? Like, so there's like Facebook groups or things, websites like Nextdoor. So I was actually willing to give people free personal training sessions, help people lose weight, just to help me get more experience and then to get exposed. And do you know what? Only one person took me up. So all these websites like Facebook, Nextdoor, the community groups of my area, only one person took me up on it. And I was like, am I not cut out for this? Like, why does no one want free, like, personal training? So that's how it started. And then I actually signed up to a course, so got a mentor, and they were talking all about like social media and Instagram. And I was like, what, someone's going to buy from me on Instagram? Like, how does that work? And I sound really old, and I'm not that old, but I was just a bit oblivious to it. It was like 2 years ago, essentially. So yeah, putting content out there was quite scary, like putting myself on video. I'm quite like I can sometimes come across as quite a shy person. So to have that thing to like put myself out there was quite tricky. But now it comes quite easy, obviously. But I needed that push for someone to say, look, you need to do this, you need to get out there, you need to inform people about what you do. But I think, I'll be honest, the first plunge of telling people I've made the change was really daunting. And I think that's kind of what put me off a bit and slowed me down, because I know it may sound a bit bad to say, but I did feel a bit embarrassed about my career change because I didn't know how it would be accepted. Because I know now it seems really open, but I think 2 years ago it was still actually quite closed. And even then, you still get the thing, oh, but you're a dentist. Why are you doing this? Like, but you're a dentist. And I'm like, that doesn't solve my life problems, being a dentist. So it was, yeah, weird. So it started off leafleting was the way, but it took me a while to pluck up the courage to say, okay, this is what I'm doing, making that change kind of thing. Because we were kind of speaking about this briefly before, weren't we? That like telling people about the change can be more overwhelming than making the change, I think. So
It's a massive thing, and there's two things that I'll say on that. The first thing is, I don't know how the transition was for you in terms of putting yourself out there, but I remember there was someone who's close to me who encouraged me to start putting content out there about what I was into, about
yeah,
crypto and about trading. And I still remember that first video that I put up. I still remember about my finger hovering over the post button on Facebook.
yeah,
And that was for me, that was the scariest moment of the whole process, even now, 10
yeah,
months, 11 months in, whatever, because
yeah,
it's going from being known as that person who does this thing to
yeah,
this thing, and you don't know at this point whether it's going to fly, whether it isn't. But that
Yeah.
leap of faith is massive. But the growth that affords you mentally, in terms of
Yeah.
being able to put yourself outside your comfort zone, is a
Yeah.
massive, massive thing. So that is the first thing. I don't know how that felt for you, but that was the part that took the most courage for me. And I'm so glad I did it in hindsight. So,
Yeah.
so glad. So many, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now,
Yeah.
realistically, if you wouldn't have done what you've done and I wouldn't have done what I've done. So the
Yeah.
stars, they coalesced, they aligned, and yeah, it
Yeah.
was beautiful. It was great. It was really, really, really worth it. But
Yeah.
that's the first thing I want to say. And then the second thing I wanted to say as well is, if we think about it, if we just step back and analyze for 2 seconds that
Yeah.
problem, the fact that that's so scary, that is 100% a psychological barrier.
Yeah.
That
No.
is totally psychological, that exists inside our head. Okay.
Yeah.
People will talk about it, I swear, for 5 minutes, and the
Yeah.
next three videos you post, it becomes very quickly what you do. Like
Yes.
it's, you would be amazed, even within a few weeks, it's not
Yeah.
even in the conversation or discourse anymore amongst other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
So surely, to me, because there's so much potential to ignite a career along something that you're incredibly passionate in, and really
Yeah.
realistically, the only downside is that some people are going to converse about it for an
Yeah.
amount of time, perhaps people that you haven't even spoke to for many years, which likely don't have very much bearing on your day-to-day life. Really, if
Yeah.
you actually analyze that objectively, the
Yeah.
upside is huge. The upside is massive. The upside
Yeah.
is so big, and the downside is actually relatively small, but it still takes a lot of courage. It's a massive psychological thing. That's all I wanted
Yeah.
to say on that, because that struck a chord with me when you were speaking, and I hope that
Yeah.
that struck a chord with someone else out there. That it really is. It's something that you will be astounded how quickly it becomes just what you do. So if
Yeah.
that's holding anybody back, look at it through that lens. That's all I'm saying. Look at it through
Yeah.
that
That's
lens.
really good advice. But also, don't you feel like you'll remember that, that scary bit of when you were thinking, shall I post it, shall I not? And the amazing positive feedback you get from everyone is actually, you get quite shocked, and you realize that there are people watching your social media that you didn't even know. Like, it was really weird. I had like my restorative tutor from university being like, this is amazing. And I was like, really? I didn't even know you were like on my Facebook, or like the from uni. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, you don't realize that people are always watching, but they're also really happy for you. And no one's thinking like, oh, what are they doing? Or if they do, they're not going to say it to you, are they? They're just going to keep it to themselves. So it doesn't matter what other people think, as long as you're happy with your choice, I think, as well. So yeah, it's weird how many random people are watching. You don't realize.
I'm actually really glad that you mentioned that as well, because for me, I was stunned by the overwhelming positivity from lots of people as well. People that I hadn't spoke to in years, and I honestly, yeah, we hadn't had conversations for ages. I thought they'd forgotten about me. I'd forgotten
Yeah.
a little bit about them. Just people that we just kind of move on. We have different paths in our lives, and it was really uplifting. Yeah, that was massively positive, and that was something that I didn't really see coming, and at the time it was really heartwarming, and it kept me going a lot. And yeah,
Yeah.
as I say, anybody else who's out there, you won't anticipate that coming, but it 100% happens, and it's really, really, really nice.
Yeah, I'm glad you agree. Yeah, and you can see like the look on your face. You've probably got some people in your mind that you know, and it's nice that we acknowledge those people as well. So if anyone's never had a comment back from me, I always do appreciate all the likes and all the support, because I do see it and it does mean a lot. But sometimes the time to reply back to everyone can be not on my side, I find, as well. So
Yeah, of course, yeah, that can happen. But yeah, for anybody, it's just like, do you know when you're a dentist and that patient who takes the time to leave a Google review, and it
yeah,
really, really makes you so happy, and I'm not sure many patients realize just how happy it does make us. Same
yeah,
thing, except with your side gig, that totally translates to your side gig, guys. So yeah, worth it. It's actually a journey and an experience in itself, and for me,
yeah,
I didn't really think that that would happen or anticipate it until I went through it myself. And
yeah,
all I'll say is that, yeah, if you do decide to take the plunge, you've almost certainly got that to look forward to. It's really, really, really nice. And that's the side that you don't see 100%. 100%.
yeah.
So, Cheetah, I wanted to ask your business now. you've already given us a little bit of a hint that it seems to be going well. How does dentistry fit in around it these days? Which is the more dominant aspect of your life? Fitness, dentistry? How does that look?
Yep. So fitness takes up most of my life.
Wow.
Because I do personal training, but I also do online coaching. So I actually mainly work with dentists. So it's all about making my clients look and feel amazing, feel really confident in themselves. So that, I'll be honest, does take around 7 days or so of my week, because it's constantly just looking after everyone. But because I love it so much, I'll be honest, I don't see it as work. I don't think, oh, I've got to like see how so and so is doing. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing how they're getting on, how their progress is going, and just seeing like how I've helped them. And then dentistry is really reduced. So obviously with COVID, it was, I'll be honest, quite non-existent. And then since everything opened up, doing like alternate Fridays, I go into clinic. So just do a session. So that's 7:30 to 1, just get it done in the morning, and which is good. But I always just think I've worked pretty hard for it, and stepping away from it, I find I enjoy it a lot more, which is really weird because I don't feel like I'm in it. I'm more on the outside doing it, I feel like, even though I am doing it. But my mindset is really different. I don't get as stressed by things because I think there's way more other things going on in life. And yeah, and because I do work with CQC as well, it's just part of their thing to obviously keep me active clinically. So it's, yeah, every other week session in clinic, and then CQC inspections I've just started to pick up, and just as and when I want to do them. They're quite flexible with it, so it's more just to make sure that everyone is safe, and people should hate us, I'll be honest. It's just there just to make sure people are complying, getting these audits done. Please do them. But yeah, that fits in around my fitness side, and I'll be honest, I see that as my primary business, and then the dentistry and the other bits fit in around it. So that's how I do it.
That's so cool. And that was one thing you just touched upon, one thing there that
Yeah.
I want to just discuss a little further. If anybody does go down this route, be prepared for it more than likely to become a 7 day thing.
Yeah.
But the difference is that because you love it so much, it doesn't feel like work. The lines become somewhat blurred. But on the flip side, because you don't have regimented hours, you have your
Yeah.
free time to go off and do things on the weekdays that you wouldn't
Yeah.
otherwise be able to do. And for me, I suppose the pros far outweigh the cons. I always felt, I don't know if this is going to really resonate with anybody or not, but when I did 9 to 5, I came home and I always thought to myself, is this it? Is this just what life's gonna be? Do I just go to work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday every week, and then have fun at the weekend, go out to
Yeah.
meals and restaurants? And I always felt a little constrained. I always felt like there was something more to life. And now I
Yeah.
feel like when you have your own side hustle and when you have the opportunity to be on a social media platform and speak to lots of people, the opportunities that come your way are just so exciting sometimes, like opportunities to speak on webinars to lots of people at conferences. You don't,
Yeah.
there's so much variation day to day that I find that I don't feel that way anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
know if you feel like that. It's almost like another reason to be excited to get out of bed. It's like a whole new dimension to your life. Cheetah,
Yeah.
what were you thinking when you heard me speak then? Did that strike a chord with you? Would you say that
Yeah.
it's similar for you?
That really definitely resonated, because I know when I used to work in clinic, like Monday to Friday, I'll be honest, I used to live for the weekend. So Friday night, I felt like I'd need like a glass of wine because I've had a really tough week. And then it was always just like waiting for the weekend to come. And I was a bit like, there must be more to life. Like, surely you can't just work really hard and then you spend that money on the weekend and then it's like the whole thing again. So it's nice now that when I do get out of bed, it's like the excitement for work essentially, and you can make it work for your timetable. So if I want to go out for a nice lunch, I'm not restricted to like, oh, but I've got a patient at 2. So it's like, it's really nice. You're in control of your diary. But one thing, actually, I don't know if you find this as well, because it is so enjoyable and we love what we do, it's quite easy to like burn out and not realize, because I spend a lot more hours working than if I was doing a 9 to 5 clinic. I'm essentially working from like the second I wake up to the second I go to sleep. But something that I really had to focus on is just putting a bit of time aside for me, because I know when we're doing dentistry, we've got that evening to just unwind. But when it's our own thing, we just put all of our time and effort into it, and it can be quite easy just to forget that we also need to look after ourselves a bit as well. But I don't know how your experiences, James, with that, or maybe
Totally.
that's just me.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And I think we've all been through that process or journey in which we learn that you have to actually you have to ring fence time just for yourself, or else you don't
Yeah,
do it. Because there's always
yeah,
something more, there's always another email to respond to,
yes,
or another message or something like that. And whilst you love doing it, when it gets to the point that maybe, I don't know, you're not eating properly or you're not going to the gym yourself, that's when you have to
yeah,
say, actually, it's time that I just took some of that time, ring fenced it, and used it to do something that's helpful for me. Only
yeah,
because that's not because you're selfish, by the way. That's just because there is a bare minimum level of maintenance that has to go in there that you sometimes
yeah,
don't do because you
yeah,
get so totally enveloped
yes,
within what you do. And
yeah,
I've actually been that person where I've just constantly just went hammer and tongs,
mm,
work, 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 and it never ends well. And I've now learned to prior. And you know what? But going through that was always, without going into too much detail, going through that taught me that it is so important to prioritize that. And I
yeah,
actually used to feel a little guilty about doing things for myself before
yeah,
that, whereas
yeah,
now I don't. So if
yeah,
that helps anybody who's down this path, it's never ever a bad thing, and it's something that you should never feel guilty about, is just even ring fencing like 2 3 hours in the day just for yourself. What a lot of my friends do who have
mm,
similar entrepreneurial activities, they
mm,
get up, they live proper entrepreneur, well, they work proper entrepreneur hours, in that they get up at like 6 every day. Okay, they go to the
yeah,
gym, whatever. They never book calls in before 12, because
yeah,
6 to 12 is their growth time. Okay, now
yeah,
this sounds so a little corny, like a little Americanized,
yeah,
but I think it is really effective. So that 6 to 12, they get up, they go to the gym. They still, they still do it. It's like quite regimented. It's not like they lie around for those hours, but they use it
yeah,
just to read and learn, listen to audiobooks, read things to improve themselves, things to grow themselves. And then
yeah,
they just, the rest of the time, that's when they focus on their business, or and what have you. But that time is so important to actually grow not just themselves but grow their business too. So that's
yeah,
something that I've noticed is common amongst entrepreneurs. But perhaps you might, I don't, it sounds like you've realized that yourself as well, Cheetah. And I
yeah.
don't know how you do it. Do you have a similar sort of structure in terms of time, or what are
Yeah.
your rules of thumb on that one? Because people who are venturing down this path, it'll be helpful for you to share what you've learned on that one, most definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of agree with what you're saying, in the sense that, so I didn't used to do that. I used to prioritize everything else and the working in the business as opposed to on the business, which is what's going to develop it further. So now I kind of make sure I prioritize my bit, because when my brain's most active is when I'm going to get all of my ideas and come up with like my social media, or see how I can help people that bit further. And then I know in the afternoon is a bit of like monk time, so my brain's just a bit tired. So I need to use all of my like mental energy in the morning. But I have to like get my workout in, get my steps in, make sure I'm like really planned for the day, listen to a podcast, or like read a book or something, and then just make sure I've done that one thing that's going to get my business to go that bit further, and then I'll work in the business essentially, so like check in on everyone kind of thing. So yeah, but it's like my hours are similar. So I'll be like 6:30 to 11, and then after that I'll look after everyone else, because I went for the trap where I used to burn out and put everyone else first, and then I wasn't working out, and I was like, oh, this is not good. Like, I'm supposed to be the fitness person, I need to work out. So yeah,
Well, yeah, there you go, because that's part of your brand. I didn't even think about that part. Yeah. Cheetah, that's absolutely awesome. Honestly, I think anybody who's listening today will have found a lot of value in what you were saying, because all I will say is, from me, from the outside looking in, it's like this whole world that I just never knew that existed. And it
Yeah.
really is this whole other dimension that can massively enhance your life. Cheetah, for
Yeah.
anybody who's listening, from someone like
Yeah.
yourself who's been through the process, the journey, so to speak, what would you
Yeah.
say to anybody who's thinking about taking the plunge into creating their own side gig? If you could have a conversation with yourself all those years ago, what might you say?
Yeah. I would just say, just do it and don't worry about what anyone else is going to think or say, because I think we all put that in our head first, and that kind of delays things. So if you're thinking about doing it, just go with it. If there's something you really enjoy and you're passionate about, you will make it work. And I also think it is worth speaking to like getting a mentor or someone to guide you in the right path, because it's just going to speed up your journey. So yeah, that's what I would suggest. I don't know if you'd add any other words to that, James, or
I would say one thing. I would say compromise on clinical dentistry time
yeah,
to have a shot at enhancing your life and achieving an even greater sphere of happiness, plane of happiness.
yeah,
That's what I would
yeah.
say. That's the one thing I would say to myself. Cheetah, this has been absolute gold dust today. Thank you so much for your time. I want to know, before we wrap up, what
Yeah.
are Cheetah's top actionable steps to starting your own side gig?
It's a good question, even though so actionable things. So a bit like what James said, if you can reduce your clinical commitment to focus on what you want to do, then that would be a really good start, because we all know there's only so many hours in the day. So to try and juggle two things, it's going to be really hard to be successful in the thing you want to pursue. And the other thing is just literally reach out to people, speak to people, and don't. I know it's quite easy to worry about the finances, but just make sure, as long as you're comfortable and you can like put food on the table and a house over your head, just don't worry about finances as much, and just make it work is what I would say. So obviously have some form of a backup plan, but just put the right time towards it and don't be half-hearted about it, because you won't get there. You kind of got to go full in and do it. Because there's a book called, I don't know if you've read it, James, The One Thing.
No,
So it's
no.
very similar to what we were speaking about. I can't remember who it's by, but when I read that, I think it just really clarified you've just got to go with it and put all of your time and energy into it if you can, and then it will flourish even further, essentially. So yeah, and read lots of books, really handy as well.
Honestly, I am the biggest proponent of reading, because if you think
Yeah,
about what a book is, how long does it take to write a book? What, maybe like a proper book? Years? Think
yeah,
about the level of expertise that someone needs to have before they write a book.
yeah,
That book that you can read, relative to how long it took the author to write it, you can read in a blink of an eye, okay, compared to
yeah,
how long it took them to acquire that information and write it. You are acquiring the distilled knowledge of that individual in a
yeah,
absolute minute amount of time compared to what it took for them to attain it. And what an
yeah,
incredible privilege that is. And I I just was thinking, I was just pondering about books the other day, and I just thought, that's what a book is. Or I think I might have heard part of that on a Gary V podcast.
uh,
Gary V is a good person to listen to for any would-be entrepreneurs out there as well.
yeah.
So yeah, definitely a podcast that you want to hit up. Awesome. So Cheetah, I know as well that you help dentists get fitter. Can you tell us a little bit more about that too, and how anybody might want to reach out to you if they want to
Yeah,
attain health, wealth, and physical well-being?
yeah, definitely. So I have an Instagram page and a Facebook page called Train with Cheetah. So Chita. And so what I do is so mainly work with dentists, because I know how stressful our lives are, and how busy we can be as well, but also how important looking after our health is, because it's so easy to kind of be like, bending forwards to just to get someone's tooth fixed. So it's all about making sure that you look after yourself, eating the right food, so then you've got the right energy to get you through the clinical day. Ultimately, sleeping better, being less stressed, and just having a better quality of life, but also looking amazing and feeling amazing, because I guess why people approach me is to lose weight, but then all the other things come into play with it. So what I love is when I work with my clients and they send me pictures of them at like events, or it sounds a bit weird, but like if they're in a bikini, but it's really nice to like, they've never had that before, and to know that you've helped that person like get them there is like truly amazing. So yeah, even if anyone wants like free tips or anything, or I like to think my Instagram content's quite good for good advice, so feel free to check it out. Yeah, and always, if you've got any questions about changing career or taking the plunge as well, really happy to help, because I know there's that Facebook group where there's quite a few about changing careers, and then there's like mental dental, I think it's called. So I don't know if I phrased that right, so that may have come across wrong, but I'm always happy to help, basically. So I'm always keeping a lookout on those groups to see if there's anything I can do to help someone, because I know I would have appreciated it back in the day, I think, as well. So that's fine.
That's awesome. And for anybody who can't see the video right now of this recording and is only listening to the audio, Cheetah has the biggest smile on her face, and I know she's speaking from the heart. I really, really do. And I'm actually so pleased for you that you found your passion. And I hope
Thank
that
you.
anybody listening to this podcast can find their passion as well, whether that be dentistry, whether that be something else. And if they can make a side gig out of that and lead so much more of a fulfilling life, that's what we're here for. And that's why I created Side Gigs Month. Awesome. I felt the energy today, Cheetah. I had an absolutely wonderful time shooting that. Did you?
Yeah, definitely. And thank you so much for having me as well. And it's nice that there's more people like us out there, because otherwise it can feel a bit isolating, like just to
Oh,
do
yeah.
it without other people doing it as well. So yeah, it's awesome. Love it.
Yeah, well, actually, just one tiny thing that we'll wrap up. The journey can actually be really lonely unless you have
Yeah,
others around you doing the same thing. And
yeah,
this day and age, we have the privilege of social media where there are a lot of individuals out there who ventured down that path. And
yeah,
again, just going back to when we were talking about how you'll be astounded by the number of people that will reach out to you, those
yeah,
people will find you, I promise. And it's a really uplifting thing.
yes.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to this podcast today. I have had an absolute whale of a time shooting it. Cheetah, I would hope that you say the same.
Yes, definitely. It's been good fun. Thanks, James.
Awesome,
No
awesome. Very
pressure
generous.
there.
It's been my pleasure to
Joking.
have you. It really has. And yeah, guys, anybody who's listening to this podcast, I hope it's ignited a, well, just a different perspective on life for yourself, maybe just another way of looking at things, and maybe got everybody thinking about how they can venture down this route or journey of creating their own side gig, should
Yeah.
they so wish. Cheetah, we are going to wrap up now. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for appearing on the podcast, and we will speak again very, very soon, I'm sure.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.